girls, it is Miss Rachel coming live from Literacy Mid-South. I'm here to read to you a wonderful book. Do you see this book here? Look at the cover of the book. The Oldest Student. The Oldest Student. Who is the oldest student? Does this look like someone's grandmother? Maybe so. We're going to learn all about this book today. It even has real pictures. The Oldest Student. The author of this book is Rita Lorraine Hubbard, and the illustrator is Og Mora. I want you to listen to some vocabulary words as Miss Rachel reads this story. One of the vocabulary words is garments. What are garments? They're clothes. They're clothes, things that you wear every single day, or at least I hope you wear them every day. Our next vocabulary word is abandon. Abandon means to be left behind or forgotten about. Do you see this old house here? Someone has forgotten about it, and it's actually a mansion. I think I need to fix it up and go move there. Our next vocabulary word that I want you to think about, civil rights. I know we've heard a lot about that lately. This is Dr. King with some of his people with him, and civil rights means for all people to be treated equally. Our next vocabulary words, billboards. And I'm sure you see billboards as you are riding in the car with your families. They are large outdoor boards with information on them. And this has something from Mickey D's. How many know about Mickey D's? McDonald's, and it's getting warm outside, so I'm sure everybody wants an ice cream cone. And our last vocabulary word is cockpit. How many of you have ever traveled on an airplane before? I have. The cockpit is the space inside of a plane that's designated just for the pilot and the crew. This is a pilot and co-pilot in the cockpit of the plane. So when you hear these words, cockpit, billboards, civil rights, abandon, and garments, I want you to clap your hands when you hear Miss Rachel read this. All right, let's get started. The Oldest Student, how Mary Walker learned to read. So I think Mary Walker is probably going to be the oldest student and the main character in this story. Whenever young Mary Walker was tired, she would shield her eyes from the sun and watch the swallowtail kites dip and soar above the trees. That must be what it's like to be free, she thought. So remember when Miss Rachel said to look at the front of the book? Remember the cover of the book? Do these birds look familiar? They are. But Mary didn't watch for long. Even at only 8 years old, she knew the first rule of the Union Springs, Alabama plantation she lived on. Keep working. She knew the second rule too. Slaves should not be taught to read or write or do anything that might help them learn to do so. Mary didn't stop working. She didn't learn to read either. But at the end of each long day picking cotton, toting water to Papa and the other slaves who chopped wood for the big train tracks, or helping Mama clean the big house, she would lie in her little bed next to the crumbling fireplace and think about all those birds. When I am free, I'll go where I want and rest when I want, and I'll learn to read too. When she was 15, it happened. Mary and her mother, brothers, and sister were free. The Emancipation Proclamation said so. What it didn't say was how was a family with nothing except the tailored garments, did you hear it? Garments, on their backs could find food, clothes, and a place to sleep. Mary's father had died and the family was on its own. Freedom Road to Freedom Road. Across fields and through woods, ex-slaves surged like waves crashing hard to shore. Now that they were free, every road was Freedom Road. Many headed north and west and every which way, searching for long-lost family members or simply experiencing the wonder of being free. Now, boys and girls, what does freedom look like or feel like to you? feel the same way doing whatever I want to do. Now, why do you think slaves were told they could not learn to read or write? You're correct, probably because they would want to escape and be free. All right, let's keep reading. Others, like Mary, chose to stay in the South. An organization called the Freedom's Bureau helped those who stayed to find shelter on abandoned Confederate land. Mary and her family settled in a one-room cabin. And for the next few years, she worked alongside her mama to help feed her siblings. Can you imagine being with your entire family in one room? I couldn't. 7 days a week, she churned butter, cleaned houses, and cared for other folks' children. The hours were long, and if Mary was thirsty or hungry or needed to use the outhouse, she would have to wait until she got home. Now imagine that, being at school all day. You can't drink water, you can't eat lunch or breakfast, and you can't go to the bathroom. All day. We're normally at school for about 7.5 hours. Can you imagine that? I could not either, but that's what Mary Walker had to do. At week's end, she would offer Mama the only lonely quarter she had earned. So imagine working all week and only earning 1/4. Do you know how much 1/4 is worth? Yes, 25 cents. You can barely buy anything in the store now for 25 cents. One day, Mary met a group of evangelists on the roadside. A woman with soft wrinkles in her kindly face placed a big, beautiful Bible in Mary's hand and told her, "Your civil rights are in these pages." Mary didn't know what civil rights were. I hope you remember what civil rights are. She only knew that top to bottom, front to back, that book was filled with words. "I'm going to learn to read these words," she vowed. "But not today. Today, there is work to be done." And tomorrow, too. When Mary got married, she and her husband worked as sharecroppers, renting someone else's house, using someone else's tools, and planting someone else's seeds to farm land they would never own. So that's what a sharecropper is. They rent someone's house, they use others' materials, and they plant someone else's seeds. And when they harvest the land or harvest the food from the land, they don't even own the land, and they only get a small portion of what is harvested. After they harvested the crop, almost all the money they earned went to pay for the housing they lived in, the tools they used, and how much the seeds cost. Mary was 20 years old when she had her first son. She opened her Bible and marveled at the squiggles inside. What do you think the squiggles were? The words. You're correct. There had been no time to learn to read. A friend wrote Mary's son's birthday in the Bible. August 26, 1869. I know that probably blew you away. That blew Ms.Rachel away too. 1869, I wasn't even born. My grandparents were not even born. Then Mary dipped a pen into an inkwell and made her mark beside it. Not a letter, not a name, just a mark. It was the best that she could do. Now, what do you think Mary could learn from reading the Bible that the evangelist gave her? What do you think she could learn? Oh, someone said her civil rights. Yes, because the evangelist did say the civil rights are right in those pages. And she could learn to be free. Now, have you ever tried something that you may not have been good at, or something new? How did that make you feel, trying something new? Yes, sometimes it can be scary, but do you give up? No, you keep trying until you get it right. Now, boys and girls, that was part 1 of this fabulous book, The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learns to Read. I want you to join me tomorrow for the second half of this book. Thank you.